Hey, good morning, TCA family. Really excited to be here today. We have one of our favorite students, Shantell, here. She's been in our program for 9 months. And her first 5 months, was really slow for her. She stayed consistent. She stayed engaged with us. And now she's a little over $40,000 in profits. One of her biggest deals is this mobile home on land deal where she made $18,000 profit on that one alone. She's got other opportunities in her pipeline. We're not getting into all of that in just a moment.
Yeah, so excited for her. And this girl's a rock star because she's taking mobile home investing to a new level. Not only is she working in mobile homes and parks, she's doing mobile homes on land, and she's even moving mobile homes. So she's got a lot of information. We're so excited to bring her on the channel and just share that with you guys. But before we get started, you know what to do. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos. Each and every week we go live as much as we can. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Shantell. Hey, Shantell, how's it going? Hey. We are just so excited to have you on the channel, and we're just excited to go into more of your journey because we've been there pretty much each step of the way. We've seen, the ups and the downs, and so we want to be transparent with everybody here and just really go into more details on that. So
yeah, I just want to start off on how you got into, why you got into mobile home investing, and I really want to dive into those first 5 months of your journey. Like, what was it like just not seeing results, and what kept you going?
Right. So when I first started, actually, it was 2019 when I started actually being more interested in manufactured homes. I actually watched a video from Earn Your Leisure, which is one of my favorite channels. And it wasn't you guys' video that I saw. It was, I cannot think of what their program is called, but I actually watched their video that kind of like got me motivated, but I ended up joining with you guys, right? Mm-hmm. And so basically I kind of set three major goals for myself in 2019 for 2020. And manufactured homes, of course, was my biggest goal. So I said, you know what, I got laid off in December. I joined the class like a week after that and got started straight in January. So that was a part of my journey. And then from there, I was motivated. I started, I got my bandit signs. I kind of went through sort of the basics, understanding the modules and so forth to kind of get my start. But that sums my start. And then from there, as I, started to understand the material, understand my market, it was a struggle, it was a challenge due to COVID mainly. And so, but I got over that hump, and then, I landed my first deal. It took longer than expected. It's going to be different for most, but I didn't get my first deal until I would say May of this year.
Okay, perfect. And I know, I remember, you jumping on the coaching calls and you were like, you're doing all the right things, Shantell. I swear you're doing the right things. You're following the recipe. It just takes time. You got to give yourself grace. You got to give yourself patience. What was the biggest obstacle that you faced, within that first 5 months when you were, working hard, maybe not seeing the results that you wanted?
Right. I think a key factor was one, really, getting organized. That was a part of it, right? I was excited, about getting out there in the field and, driving for dollars. But I think, I had to kind of like regroup and figure out a plan of how I was going to target certain areas, right? So I started out and I was kind of like driving everywhere, all over the place. So I didn't have like a set schedule or set plan on how I was going to accomplish my goals each week. And so once I, regrouped and came up with a plan of how I wanted to target certain areas, it started to get a lot better as far as meeting drivers, meeting contractors, right? And so it just kind of built from there. Basically, what I spent most of my first 90 days doing is really building rapport with people in the parks, right? Contractors, meeting drivers, right? And people who's just giving me a lot of information. So I think that was a big part of my 90-day journey, was just more of education.
And we talk about 5 months, you doing all the right things, networking, showing up, engaging, putting the work in, but you're just not catching a break. You're not, finding that first deal. You got close to some, but they just didn't pan out. What was going through your head emotionally at that time?
Emotionally, I wouldn't say that I had there was no doubt. I had no doubt actually the first 90 days. I think because I was so motivated, but doubt does the head trash kind of creeps in sometimes, right? And I went through a period. I mean, I would say I went through a period, maybe 2 weeks, where I was kind of like, just in a state of disappointment, right? And I'm like, you're watching everybody get their first deal in 2 weeks or a few days, or and so forth. And so I had to kind of like, basically reassess things and say, okay, hey, no, this is not what we're going to do. We're going to keep at it until, the universe give in and break.
Yep.
So that for me. I didn't have an emotional issue because I'm a motivator by nature, but it's just, this is the first time I ever stepped out on faith, just doing this solo by myself full time, right? I've never done that before. So this was a whole new challenge, a whole new just arena for me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was foreign, but I was willing to go through the struggle, the challenge, and everything just to get, to make it to success. So here I am.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've always had the right mindset, and that's what it takes. Like you said, you had to step out on faith. Sometimes it's shaky. It's not always, a smooth ride, when you're stepping out on faith. But at the end of the day, you know what you were trying to do. You knew where your goals were, and you weren't giving up. So what is the biggest lesson that you learned during that time?
During that time, it's different strokes for different folks, but I probably would never, if I was starting out as a beginner, I wouldn't buy a home that's on land. If it's a home that's on land that you have to move, right? There are a lot of opportunities out there, but people have a hard time with moving. Also, too, understanding your market, understanding, I guess you're basically your target market. I would say your target market, depending on what area you're in or where you live. Just understanding your surroundings and how that market works and impacts your business where you are. So I think that's one of my two biggest things. And it's all about, hard work and getting out there and doing it. One of the things I can say that nobody held my hand. So you have to get out there and do the work. Networking was one of my biggest things. I went to a lot of networking events and you meet people who are in the industry. And people who can, bring value to you in some way, right? So, as well as other investors, right? And so I think those are my three major themes.
Now we talk about a lot of opportunities with mobile homes on land, a lot of them that need to be moved. What are some of those issues that come up for newbies? Maybe that's their first opportunity. What are some of those issues or red flags you're talking about, and why you would decide, if you're new, not to go this route?
One of my biggest red flags, and I think a lot of it had to do with COVID, is finding a mover. It wasn't just a mover, but it was also like, say, for instance, if you had a buyer who wanted to move it to their land, finding a surveyor, right? An engineer, an inspector to come out for them to get the okay to move it to their land. So it was just a lot of challenges with that. And then, mainly, it's just really finding movers, because in the state of Georgia, the movers are kind of scarce, right? So it's just hard getting a mover. It's like they don't even answer their phone hardly. So that's why, that's how I learned the trick. It's like, okay, if I see a mover in the park, I'm getting his contact information immediately.
Yeah.
Because normally they just don't answer their phones. So I think that was my biggest thing. Matter of fact, the home that I actually ended up buying, the link that I had with Jill, was a home that I picked up for $600, and I ended up selling it for $3,000. The buyer is just now moving a home.
It's been months.
Since you sold that home. Wow.
We had a hard time with getting a surveyor to her land, right? Finding a mover. It was a lengthy process. So, and I said, COVID is not my friend. I'm so ready. 2020 has been good to me now. But COVID, I said bye-bye to you. But yeah, basically, it took a minute. So
yeah, and I'm sure that's a big reason why you decided to learn how to move mobile homes and get into that as
yes,
well, because of the struggle and the challenge
right.
that you face in finding a mover. So we're gonna get right back into your journey, Shantell. If you guys are with us live, especially, we want to know, what is your deal goal for October? This is the first day of October. And we want to hear, how many deals are you looking to get this month? We want to put it out there. We're back.
There we go. I'm like,
Something got hit. So we want to hear your deal goal for October below. Go ahead and comment that. We're going to bring it on. We're going to root you on to get that deal done. So let's go to a few of the questions that have come in.
Yeah, and what's your goal, Shantell, this month going into October?
for my month, for this month, for the month of October, we're looking at about 3. But
Okay.
Love it.
but see, what I learned is I don't look at it from how many deals I want to do. I look at the value of the deals. Now,
can you go into detail about that? Because I think a lot of people, they put these numbers up, the number of deals they want to do, and you're talking about value. Can you explain that? It might help.
Absolutely. So for an example, I have another opportunity for a home on land, right? And so basically, if I can hit, it's sort of like actually the first 90-day goals, right? Our goal was to get to a $30,000 mark, right? And I didn't meet my goal. So, but I continue to use that strategy. I look at the value of the deal to get me to my goal, right? Versus the number of deals. So for me, for October, I'm looking at 3, right? I know I have an opportunity right now that could make me about $25K on one deal.
Ooh.
Right?
What do you need?
and there's another one, right? That's going to be about 10. That's the next one I'm looking to close soon.
I love that you say that, because we're really big on focusing on what is the number that you need as far as profit to hit, your goal, that revenue goal you have in mind. Some people say, hey, it's 25,000, average deal. I make, $5,000 per deal. That's 5 different deals. Or you can take that same time and just invest it in something bigger, like this mobile home on land, where you might take a little bit more time. However, that profit is going to be the same from you going out there and finding 5 different deals to get. So we'll get into a couple of these comments and whatnot. Be here. Somebody said they're trying to get 3 or more deals. I love that. I think you can do that. Getting my first deal, I think that's definitely doable. Coach Boyd is in here. He said this is one of the best stories that seemed to come out of nowhere. Congratulations, you earned it. Yes. So happy for you. Let's see here. Outside of Facebook Marketplace, offer up Craigslist and even MH Village. Is there anything else we can do to get our home sold from the broker position? It's frustrating dealing with so many tire kickers. Now, Shantell, you dealt with this early on with that first home in the park where you were just dealing with a lot of like flaky buyers. What are some things that you're doing outside the box to get your home sold?
Well, the biggest thing, actually, I have a vetting process. So I think everybody needs to come up with a tight-knit vetting process. I mean, so mine is pretty simple. It's not a secret, but it's just basically understanding your buyer, what their needs are, what's their timeline, are they a cash buyer versus a finance buyer, and just kind of going through that, right? A lot of times investors look for cash buyers, right? But everybody don't have, a heavy amount of cash laying around, right? And so you might have to go that finance route. It's just understanding that process and how to get through it.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think that's really big, especially for the mobile homes on land. Now, I think that's a really big piece of advice. And even specifically with mobile homes and parks, Justin, what you can do is go ahead and start networking with other brokers. Sometimes they're really looking for buyers. They're looking to partner up with other investors. So, get on Google, start making those phone calls, let them know what type of value you can bring to them. Let them know what type of return you're looking for, see what type of return they're looking for. And sometimes you can find a buyer just going the non-traditional route. That's one of our favorite ones.
Yeah, vetting is the key. That's the key to all of it, because if you're pre-qualifying them right, you put them through a system, it's just like they funnel through and boop, there comes the right buyers. But if you're trying to, spend so much time with each and every person, that's when it can get really overwhelming.
And
so
we'll get into a couple more of these goals. Barry says 3 deals would be great. solid. Tori, fresh out of the beginner's coaching call for this inspiration.
Oh man, he
I know,
can't get enough.
Right, I know.
She can't get enough.
I know Coach Gully and Coach Session took care of you. This is amazing. Let's see if we got any other deals coming through. Deal number one. Let's see. Deal number one, also loads of leads and relationships with buyers and sellers, dealers, movers, and even handymen.
Yeah, that's what Shantell did at the beginning.
Somebody said they gotta break that wall.
Yes,
Woo, absolutely. Let's see. And then William says from Cali, just joined yesterday. Welcome to the family, William. Yes, excited to have you in here. So let's get back to the drawing board. I want to start to talk about this mobile home on land flip that you did. So can you go into some of the details? I know you told us you found this home like literally just driving around. What was the conversation like after you found this home? You know, how did you get the seller to get on your team? And can you go over some of the numbers with us?
Sure. Yes, I was driving for dollars. This is where, I talked about how, kind of setting your goal each week on what areas you want to target. But the area, this particular home is in Acworth, Georgia. And basically I was driving for dollars. I spoke with the seller and she wanted to work with me, and we got the home on the contract and we went from there. Now, the whole process of me finding buyers actually wasn't hard. My first buyer who actually came out to see the home was the person who actually purchased the home. Nice. Right. And the beauty of it, what made this deal so smooth, and all deals are not going to be smooth like this, but the buyer already she was already financed, right? All we had to do was just go through the paperwork and close the deal, basically.
So
right?
I don't mean to interrupt. Was this something you said she was already financed? Was she already preparing herself for an opportunity like this beforehand?
Correct. So basically, and I think that's where the difference come in, is that in this case, it's kind of like, sometimes you might get a home, somebody say, hey, I want to buy it. Can I finance it? Right. And so my first response is, are you approved by a lender? Right. But I also, Vanderbilt, I'm a big fan of Vanderbilt. But in this case, they were using basically a lender that normally finances brick and mortar. Right. So they already had a set budget of what they were going to spend. But the lender approved her for like up to, I think, $140,000.
Wow.
So all she had to do was just go out. It's kind of like you got a check, go out and find what you're looking for, right? Wow. So it's basically set up that way. But it was a journey. Just it was interesting. I kind of found myself. I'm working on the behalf of the seller and the buyer. I actually managed the entire deal from the time we started, right? Because I was working with the lender. I was making sure they got the update from the buyer and the seller. So it was actually pretty interesting. And the benefit that I got from that, it was the finance manager. She was like, well, how often do you do manufactured home deals? And I was like, very often, right? She says, I would love to work with you. But I'm going to, right? And so that's what I want, right? I want to start building those relationships with lenders as well. So, but basically that was just the gist of the process, is that, getting a lender and making sure you stay on top of the lender with, they have to go out there and do an inspection. And so given that this was a commercial lender, their process is a little different, right? And they don't do everything in-house, versus Vanderbilt, they do, right? But that's basically the gist of it. I mean, it was a straightforward process, and both parties were happy. And what's interesting is the benefit from the buyer and the seller. They have actually real estate they want to work with me on to sell the other property.
Wow.
Talk about being connected. So I want to know, you said you represented the seller and the buyer. This is what we teach with most of the deals our students are getting into. Did you have to articulate what your fee was going to be, that $18,000? Did you articulate that to them? And then what was actually breakdown for that? Like, how did you get to that number? Well,
actually, the seller was they had a set number what they wanted for the home. And the land, and that was $75K. And so they said, we don't care what you sell it for over that amount. We just want $75K, right? And so that's kind of what happened. So I actually initially posted the home for $110,000, right? And when the buyer came, she thought that was a good price, right? But The problem with the buyer was she was actually co-signing for her son to move in. So he came, he inspected it, and I already had my kind of threshold number. I wasn't going to go past 92, right? So when he came in, he was like, okay. He says, I'll offer 93,000. I was like, perfect. So after that, I mean, then we went through, the whole, going back and forth with the lender, making sure they had everything they need. And I'll share this also too with the experience of this process, because one of the things I was kind of glad I kind of went through the pain points, because now I have my checklist as far as, okay, I know exactly what they're going to ask for, right? And in this case, this home actually, like, they go through this process when they expect it. They want to make sure that the home has the plates that it's supposed to have. In this particular home, they have a Department of Revenue plate on it. But, most manufactured homes come with that data plate that's normally on the cabinets or something like that. And so it didn't have that. And so I learned that they go through a different process to order that. So that's another delay, basically.
Wow. So as far as your buyer getting, approved and then them actually qualifying the home, can you paint the picture what that looked like? Like, how did they, did they walk the interior of the home?
Yes. So the buyer was already approved, right? They were already approved. All they was doing is picking up the house. They walked through it. They liked it. Did I miss something?
Oh, no, go ahead.
They walked through the home. They liked it. And it was just pretty straightforward. I'll tell you, the viewing probably didn't last no more than, I would say, 20 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, that's great.
And the reason why is because the mom, well, her name was Gwen. She actually had other investment properties. So she kind of knows when she goes into something, she knows what she wants and she's done. Hey, my son's going to come look at it. That's it. This is what we get.
I know you got a couple questions for. I just want, especially the new people, to really zone in to what she's saying. We're talking about, $94,000 deal. We might hear those numbers and be like, oh man, this isn't a deal that's under $5,000. I don't have the money to make this happen. You can still make these deals happen by just having that go-giver mindset and just connecting, two parties. Shantell was able to do this $94,000 opportunity or deal, and she walked away with 18 grand. She still didn't invest any of her own money into this deal. She just used the knowledge that she had to bring that to the market and solve problems. She got paid for her efforts. So I'm really excited for you. Really, really proud of you. And you have another opportunity just like this in your pipeline you're working on too, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Actually, that home is in a park. Okay. So in this case, the buyer, she wants $35K for the home. And so right now I'm selling it. The buyer, she's actually being financed. We're closing it with the lender now. And what's interesting is that lender is Vanderbilt. So I'm very excited because they move they move very fast. So very excited about that. In this case, it was a seller who parents passed, right? The home's a 1999. It's a 4.2. The home is actually amazing shape. Like it's literally brand new almost, right? They took really good care of the home. And so I had a buyer who came out. She was pregnant. She was like, look, I need to be in a home before it gets too cold so I can have this baby. So she got approved. And in this case, I actually had a buyer who got approved that used her land as collateral.
Oh, man. So smart.
So now we're just ready to close.
Perfect, man. Coming into the month strong after that. I just have a couple questions in regards to, the differences between, you've done some deals in parks, you're now doing deals on land. What's the biggest difference that you can say between those two types of transactions?
I think that from I would say a budget conscious standpoint, obviously when you buy a home in a park, you have to start paying lot fees immediately, depending on the agreement or setup that you have with the park manager, right? Also, too, most parks, most I guess the type of demographic that you'll attract is people who are looking to rent mostly. There are some buyers, but again, it just depends on the area where you are or where the park is, right? I think the difference between land and parks, land's going to be more lucrative, Sometimes it might be a little bit more time consuming to close the deal, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say that, I'm going to always be a fan of land. And for some reason, that's just the way the universe set it up for me.
Hey, bigger numbers don't. That's what we like to see. And you're doing a lot of the same work. It's just you're working with bigger numbers, and you have to work maybe with some finance companies and understanding the obstacles with that. So definitely get that.
So I'm guessing that what you learned in the mobile home in park side, that help you at all with the mobile home on land side? And are you doing the same things that you're learning, connections that you're building? Are you taking all of that to grow your mobile home in park business as well?
Yes and no. I guess I'm gonna say yes and no. And the reason being is because, there are a couple of deals right now that I have opportunities that I have in the park. And I guess it's because I haven't done a whole lot in the park. But there's opportunities in the park. And I actually just got a lead yesterday from a contractor, right? There's a park that's selling 8 homes, right? So there's some opportunity there. I just haven't looked into it to see how that would go. I think it just depends on the relationship that you build, because I wouldn't want to pick up homes, have to repair them, right? And that's what you learn about, homes on land, right? Yeah. Normally when you pick them up, you might have to do some repairs to them. And if you have to move them off land, that's a whole nother situation. But I guess they kind of go, I guess you could say they kind of go hand in hand. The only difference between the parks and the land, you have to go through a whole nother process, right? If it's new land, you got to go through the process of grading the land, right? Getting the surveyor out there, getting your land size, getting the home size for a septic tank, if that community only does septic tanks, right? So I think that's the difference, right? You go into a park, everything is kind of situated. You just need to move the home in there. So.
Yep. Definitely. It's it kind of speeds up the process. You don't necessarily have to go through as many hurdles with the financing. A lot of the times, a lot of people have enough cash to pay for the homes in parks. So there's differences. They're both great. Yes. It's just, you have the experience in both, and it's great to just hear, your perspective.
And we got a couple more questions for you, Shantell, but for all you guys that are tuning in right now, we hope, as always, that you're getting value from this video. If you are, go ahead and just smash the like button for us. Drop a comment below. Let us know your biggest takeaway. Shantell dropped some amazing gems so far. If anything, guys, my biggest takeaway from this is just, having that connector mindset. She gave you guys a few, options, Vanderbilt, even, commercial lenders that will, lend on mobile homes if they find the right person, the right buyer. So it's all about having that go-giver connecting mindset. I'm going to connect people to people that can help them, or information that can help them get to their big goal.
Yeah. And, I love how you were saying, you're starting to really love the on-land side, because you're able to, the transactions may take a little bit longer, but you're getting bigger profits from them. And you'll be able to use a lot of the same knowledge that you have about mobile homes and parks, put it into land, and now you're able to do both. And it makes your whole business grow, because now you're able to look at so many more opportunities. So I love that.
We'll get into a couple of these comments here. Cherie says she's shooting for her first deal. She's out in Texas. You got a lot of coaches around you out there. So
you in a good market.
Yeah, really good.
They
market.
are there.
I'm from Houston.
Oh, there you go. There we go.
That's right.
Let's see. Finished beginners call, looking to do 2 deals this month.
All right, in your neighborhood, Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I love it. Coach Session, congratulations, Shantell. Let me hold $5. Just $5.
Just five.
Networking partnerships makes life so much better in any business. It's so much easier to scale when you're able to bring the right people and put the right people in the right seats.
And I know you've partnered with other students in the community. You're really big on networking, making connections, building rapport. And I think that's really the game changer that really shifted your business, is that you put so much effort in that in the beginning. And I'm sure that's paid off just by having the skill of networking and also those connections when you need them. So
absolutely. Lexi says, nice. David says, amazing. Even Mike says, congrats, doing big things. And Lexi says she's inspirational. She's an inspiration to us all. We'll get into a couple more here. I'm learning so much. Thank you to everyone. Absolutely. Great. And then let's see, Bradley says, actually not Bradley. Let's see. Bradley says, great value from these calls. Let's see here. I'm kind of nervous to do my first deal. What should I do? I'm going to let you answer that, Shantell. She's really nervous. She's trying to get that first deal done. What are the first couple of things you can provide her?
Well, I'll tell you, after I posted the deal that we're talking about now, I had so many messages. So, I mean, I think people who are starting out, there's a great level of anxiety on what they should do, how they should do it. And I think, I pressed on this many times before. Make sure you go through the modules, or if you're a part of the TCA program, go through the modules, make sure you understand what you're doing, and dedicate your time to just understanding the material, understanding, your market, like I mentioned before. So I think the thing is that if you're setting up your first deal, understanding what type of deal you have in hand, understanding what kind of contracts you need and so forth. I think, it can go pretty smoothly. It's just everything has to do with you. Now, me, my personality type, I'm an extrovert. So some people are introverts. If you're not a person that's good at talking, you might want to partner up with someone, right? So I think it can vary. So, I mean, don't be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about. Just go get it.
Yeah, and just understanding, like, you get to be nervous. And usually the nervous comes from you just being excited about it, and you might not have the skill sets that you want just yet, but you're gonna get that just by taking consistent action. The learning comes from doing. So what you're gonna do is just act in spite of any type of nervousness, any type of fear, so you can get to that other side of growth. Just continue to take massive actions. What I'm hearing.
I love it. I love it. Good words of advice. It's just get out there and take action. So, talking about that, what's next for you, Shantell? I know you got the mobile homes on land, the mobile homes on parks.
You got a lot going on.
More deals.
Man. So what's next for me? So right now, basically, I'm right now, all I'm doing is just structuring my company, and then from there, I definitely will be crossing over into transport. So I'm doing moving homes, but I'm kind of working with other movers. But I'm actually going to be acquiring my own truck. I put it on hold because I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm moving a little too fast. So I want to cross over to transport. And I actually talked to Mark Anthony a little bit about that. He gave me some good feedback. And so basically what I would like to do is pick up a couple of contracts with Clayton Homes and FEMA. And so I want to start, basically transporting manufactured homes across state lines.
Wow.
So that's what I'm looking forward to.
You got the mobile homes and parks. You're still working those. You got mobile homes on land. You're going to be transporting homes. What's your biggest fear right now? What's your biggest fear? You got this big goal, but what's the biggest fear you have right now?
I think the biggest fear is I haven't spent anybody else's money but mine. So I think that but now that's all going to change now. But my biggest fear was basically running out of funding, right? Getting to that point, you got so many deals and so many things, so many moving pieces, right? You don't want to tap out, right? And so that's why I had to kind of scale back and just regroup and figure out what direction I want to go first. What's most imperative versus what I can wait for, right? And it also too, I just purchased some land, right? So
congratulations.
That's another thing. So I think for my biggest fear is just what's a little weird. I'm a little weirdo. So some people have a fear of failure, right? I have a fear of success. Mm-hmm. And what it is that it's the responsibility, right? Yeah. Like this thing, like I was telling you, Jay, the last 90 days, it just kind of blew up. Like it opened up and it's like, it can be overwhelming, right? And so it's just understanding, understanding what's on my plate, making sure I'm organized, making sure I have a structure, right? And then just keeping at it. So my biggest fear, that's basically my biggest fear, right? But that's trash, that's head trash, as I say. But I'm staying a course, and that's pretty much it.
And thank you for being transparent. We both got to touch on this in terms of just running out of funding. We had that same fear for a while there. You can easily become cash strapped of just finding more and more deals. And this is why we say it's so imperative, especially if you're new, to get connected to some type of network, some type of community where they're full of investors just looking for opportunity. There's some really unique opportunities in mobile home parks, mobile homes on land, where even if you do not have the money yourself, if you present that opportunity to the right person, are able to articulate how they're going to get value from the deal, there's always people out there that will be able to fund these opportunities. You just got to be willing to get out there, communicate, be a little bit extrovert from time to time to make it happen.
Good thing that you're good at networking. That shouldn't be a huge problem. I mean, when you have the track record, when you've done deals, when you can show them the numbers, it makes it so much easier for people to trust you to be able to make them money. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
right.
It's all about having the gift of gab. And, you know, even with I want to touch on this really, really quick. The fear of success. I think that is huge because a lot of us entrepreneurs, we feel like, you know, we can overwhelm ourselves with a lot of things, and it's easy to do that. And with more of things going on, becomes more responsibilities, more stress. And it's not that you're going to drop the ball. It's just that, you know, you have a lot going on. So I completely resonate with that. That's something that we deal with as well. But like you said, I'm just going to keep going.
And one of the things we always ask ourselves is like, hey, you know, we have this vision, you know, we see the responsibility, we know where we're headed, or where we at least want to go. What am I willing to do to get myself to the next level? What am I willing not to do? If everything lines up and I'm willing to put forth the effort into education, into the action, into even connecting with the right people, if there's nothing stopping me, I am not willing to, you know, stay at this level. You know, 12 months from now, I'm at the same spot. I got to continue to move forward. And with that, it's going to be struggle. It's going to be hard work, and that nervousness and those fears, they're never going to go away. We've been doing this for quite some time now. It just, you reach different levels, and then there's new devils that come in.
New devils. I completely agree. Well, Shantell, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that wealth of information. I think so many people got something from this. And congratulations on just the past 90 days during COVID, that your business has exploded and that you have reached so many new heights in, you know, just learning and growing in your mobile home investing.
If you guys
journey
are interested in getting ready to start your journey as well, we always leave a link to apply below our video. So I'm looking forward to eventually welcoming more people into our family. We're just really excited to get more and more results like you have, Shantell. It's amazing what you're doing right now. 40,000 already in profit. You still got multiple deals you're working on. I think before the end of the year, we might be able to cross that 6-figure mark.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.